Well, I just got done watching Pet Sematary 2 and I reviewed it, and I will leave links to all three reviews to the original, the remake, and part 2 I just did. And now let's rank them, because that's what you do. Of course, from worst to best, and I will be doing a little Pet Sematary quiz, so stick around if you think you know this franchise that well. This is going to be pretty quick because there's only 3 entries. I usually only do rankings if there's 4 or more, but I don't think we're going to get any more Pet Sematary, so let's just do this and get it over with. What is the worst one? Hands down, and they're all not terrible, but this one was just bleh. And that's the remake. The biggest sin that this movie does is it just copies too much of the original, and it doesn't really try to go in its own different direction. It just drops the ball with Zelda. It just forces Zelda down your throat like every 5 minutes. There's like a reference to Zelda. It's like, oh, look, there's creaking. You hear that? There's creaking. It's Zelda. They make the wife so scared of Zelda from minute 1 that it makes no fucking sense why she goes back to her parents' house at all. It's dumb. Not to mention, this movie has the second worst trailer of 2019 that ruins the whole change in this movie that does stand out from the original. Although I did not see that trailer going into this, I heard about it and I have to agree that that's bullshit. Why did they do that? This movie doesn't even focus on Gage, and he is an iconic character from the first movie. If they were going to try to trick you with making you think it was Gage gonna die, they could have done a better job executing that by making you think, by like having you spend time with Gage, making you think that he was still going to be the one that died, but then pull the rug out from underneath you and then have Ellie die. But instead, they completely put Gage in the back seat and just make him non-existent in the film until like the very end. Judd, played by John Lithgow, it's not as good as the original actor Fred Gwynn, I believe. It's not terrible. It's just not as good. Those are hard shoes to fill, and I don't think John Lithgow had a chance. This was just a watered down version of the original. It just repeats everything, but it has half the emotion and half the impact, or barely any. When the kid gets hit by a truck, it's not as impactful. You got a great cast of people, great actors, but they're not utilized well because they barely cry in this movie. It's not sad like the original. Even Judd's death is not even brutal as it could have been. Like, I think he gets stabbed a bunch in the chest or something, but it's like off camera. Overall, it's just disappointing as fuck in this movie, and this was like my 4th most anticipated film of the year. You can go back to my top 10 list. It was in the top 5. But anyways, let's move on to my number 2. Is it going to be Pet Sematary, the original, or Pet Sematary 2? I actually know one person who would put this as their number 1, but my number 2 is the second one. For the biggest reason why this film is above the remake is because of Clancy Brown. He brings so much charm and entertainment to this film that you can almost forgive the bad writing and the bad acting from everybody else. This movie is a little bit more bloodier than the first one. It's more zany and it's just over the top. You can't help but just laugh. There's a few like iconic great one-liners in this movie by Clancy Brown himself, aka Cortex. Bonus points for that alone. You got the no brain, no pain, think about it, and then you got the, I dug up your wife because I wanted to fuck her. This movie's just fun. Whenever Clancy Brown's on camera, it's fun, but yeah, everything else is just bad about this movie. It's got a completely different tone, and it just doesn't work. It's got a weird soundtrack, dumb character decisions. I know they're 13 or 14 years old, so it's like, well, what did you expect from them? But you got that battered wife in this movie. It's just so annoying. The whole movie's her fault. It's a shock that this movie was directed by Mary Lambert, who directed the first one. It's like, this is a major downgrade, but still, like I said, it's still fun. This is just a kind of guilty pleasure and just kind of know what you're getting yourself into beforehand. That way, you're not disappointed too much. But if you want to hear all my thoughts about this movie, go ahead and check out my review I just uploaded the other day. Now let's move on to my number 1. Number 1, of course, is the original. Alright, this is the one that just does everything right. It's got the perfect blend of like some corniness with just like 2 small characters, Pascal and the nanny, and then the rest is just serious, and people do harp on the acting. The acting's okay, but the little girl, yeah, she's the worst part. I think the cat in this one's actually creepier than the remake, although, because that one's cuter, this one's actually creepy, so I think they cast the better cat in this movie, but this movie just has all the emotion, and it's very, it's a tough movie to get through because it just makes you think about death and it feels realistic. Like the dialogue from Ellie, she sounds like an actual like kid. It's not Hollywood like dialogue given to her. It feels like something that a little kid would say. Zelda in this movie, played by a man, just creepy as fuck. They don't overuse Zelda. She's just in a couple of moments. And it makes more sense in this movie than it does in the remake. Like I said, like just they use her too much in that remake to the point where it doesn't make sense why she goes back home. Gage is pretty creepy in this movie, but there is some dating in it. Like it's aged not that well because they use like the puppet when they're throwing Gage. When Gage is like tackling his dad Lewis, and it's like clearly a puppet, but you can't harp on it too much. I mean, it's the 80s, so they didn't have the technology. But yeah, this was just a great film. I've seen like 4 or 5 times in my life. It's a great film. It's very sad. It still hits home, and it just makes you want to cry. And that's what this type of movie should do. All right, now before we end this, let's go over a little Pet Sematary quiz. I got this little book and it has horror movie quizzes. So I want to see how much I know about Pet Sematary. What is the name of the family pet? The cat. Church. I know that one. Whilst in the Pet Sematary, what does Judd tell Ellie a graveyard really is? I completely forget. Does he say something like, it's where the dead sleep? Or something like that? Or it's where the dead speak? Like the headstones? I think that's what he means by that. Like, it's where the dead speak? I don't know, something like that. If I'm in the ballpark, I'll count it. The answers will be in the comments below. I mean, not the comments, the little description section. So check it out. Which popular horror film star was the first choice for the role of Louis Creed? I have no idea. I do not look up backstory shit. Or back information, whatever. Behind the scenes info. Victor Pascal has been hit by a truck on Lewis's first day of work. What does he say to him after he dies? A man's heart is stonier than the soil? Something like that. I think I'm in the ballpark. How does Lewis know he's not dreaming after Pascal takes him into the Pet Sematary to deliver a warning to him? Because he wakes up with mud all over his feet. Something like that. For which event at her parents' house do Rachel and the kids leave Lewis alone in the house to go to? They go to their grandparents for Thanksgiving? Who did the burial ground belong to according to Judd? Was it A, the Micmac Indians, B, the Beothuk Indians, or C, the Malecite Indians? I'm not sure if I said those names right, but I'm going to go with the Micmac. How does Judd say told him, that's bad English right there, about the burial ground when he was a child? I would say that his brother told him or something. How does the Creed's housekeeper Missy die? She kills herself by hanging herself. The house used for the Creed's house in Pet Sematary is actually where Stephen King wrote Pet Sematary. I'm going to say false. What role does Stephen King play as a cameo? He was the minister, the priest. What is Gage doing before he wanders onto the road and is killed by a passing truck? Chasing a kite. What is the name of the one man who Judd knew was buried in the burial ground? Timmy, Jimmy, or Billy? I'm going to go with Timmy. Whilst at her parents', what makes Rachel think something bad is happening back home? She has a dream of Victor Pascal, something like that. When Gage has returned to life, that's one way to put it, which item does he take from his father's work bag? A scalpel. Which character repeatedly says the line, never get out of bed again, never get out of bed again? Zelda. Why does Lewis think it will be okay to bury Rachel in the burial ground despite the horrific events he had just been through? Because he thinks he will be quicker this time. Not enough time has passed. When Rachel returns home from the burial ground at the end of the Pet Sematary, what is the one word that she speaks before grabbing a knife? One word? Lewis? Which young actor played the lead role in Pet Sematary 2? Justin Furlong. John Connor himself. The filmmakers of which recent Stephen King adaptation have expressed an interest in remaking Pet Sematary. That dates this. I would say It. Alright, I think I did pretty well. What was your score out of 20? How many did you get right? And also tell me what your Pet Sematary ranking is in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching this. Hit this like button to support this video. Tell all your friends about me, and you can follow me on social media if you wish to do so. And consider subscribing today. I would really appreciate it just by clicking on my cartoon face in about 5 seconds to see more. And until next time, Auf Wiedersehen. Yeah.